Some chilling moments in the courtroom today when the jurors were shown the hoodie that Trayvon Martin was wearing on the night he was shot and killed, as well as the blood-soaked bullet hole in his sweatshirt. They also got a close-up look at George Zimmerman's gun, and it was all part of testimony from a crime lab analyst who examined it all. Joining us now is Professor Lawrence Kobylinski. He's the chairman of the Science Department of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, a forensic scientist himself. Professor, thanks for coming in. Let me play the clip, the exchange from this crime laboratory analyst who examined Trayvon Martin's sweatshirt, then we'll discuss.
Are your findings consistent with the muzzle of the gun having been pressed into the dark hooded sweatshirt and then fired through both the dark hooded sweatshirt and the lighter colored sweatshirt?
It is consistent with the muzzle of the firearm touching the outer sweatshirt and the inner sweatshirt being in direct contact with that outer one, yes.
There was no evidence, for example, that would show up that you would take the gun nozzle and push it into the shirt somewhere where the shirt would fold around it, was there?
No, it was consistent with the muzzle of the firearm touching.
It was consistent with
sweatshirt.
This, correct?
Yes.
Shirt, firearm, wasn't consistent with this, right? Pushing or anything?
No.
That would have shown a completely different configuration to you, right?
To me, contact is when the muzzle is just touching the fabric.
And that's all someone would need to do to fire a shot if it was fully loaded?
Yes.
All right, Professor Kobylinski, what's the significance of this testimony?
Well, I thought that her testimony was quite excellent and clear, and what she concluded from her test firings and comparisons to the physical evidence was that the muzzle was literally in contact with the fabric of the outer sweatshirt, the hoodie. And that is, for me, it raises a question because the autopsy report describes the shot as an intermediate shot, which means that the muzzle was 6 inches to perhaps 18 inches away from that garment. So there is a contradiction here. I tend to go forward with Amy Sievert's conclusion because the bullet had to penetrate 2 layers of clothing before it hit the body. So I think she's probably closer to the truth.
So is that good or bad for the prosecution in this case?
It doesn't make a lot of difference. It certainly points to the fact that there's a struggle as opposed to a distant shot, which wouldn't go along with George Zimmerman's hypothesis.
Well, George Zimmerman acknowledges he did fire that bullet into Trayvon Martin's heart.
Indeed, there's no question about that. The question is was it part of the struggle? Did Trayvon Martin go for the gun? There is no DNA evidence on the gun from Trayvon Martin. You really can't draw conclusions, and we really haven't heard anything definitive that George Zimmerman said when he spoke to the police that Trayvon Martin touched the gun, just that he went for the gun. So everything I'm hearing is consistent with George Zimmerman's story.
Professor Kobylinski, thanks as usual for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And happening now, breaking news, Egypt upheaval. President Mohamed Morsi ousted in a military coup. Plus, new courtroom drama in the George Zimmerman trial as the prosecution nears the end of its case. I'm Wolf Blitzer. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world.